Marvelous one. We got to get to what's happening in Soldier Field. You know, other teams get to have fun, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that they're so good that their quarterback is getting a 10-year deal to be in the booth because of not only what he did in your team, but the history he did on another team. The Chicago Bears don't have that, and it doesn't seem like they're going to have that anytime soon, but the schedule came out. I don't want to do the win-loss thing. We don't even know who's going to be on these rosters come training camp. But these rosters are fun. These games, these schedules coming out are fun because there are some interesting matchups. And we'll go through them really fast just for context for those who haven't been able to see it. Week 1 is against the 49ers at home. Then you're on Sunday Night Football against the Packers at Green Bay for week 2. So shout out to the schedule makers that we don't have to go to Green Bay in the middle of December. It's very much early in the season. Week 3 against the Texans at home. Week 4 against the Giants in New York. Week 5 against Minnesota in Minnesota. Again, an early season divisional matchup away. So very interesting on that. Week 6 on Thursday Night Football against the Washington Commanders. And then the turnaround on Monday Night Football, Week 7 against New England in Boston. Week 8 at Dallas. Week 9 against the Dolphins at home. Week 10 against the Lions at home. You head to Atlanta and New York for weeks 11 and 12. The Packers come to Chicago for week 13. Unlucky week 13 for Chicago. A bye week at week 14, a very late bye week for the Monsters of the Midway. And you head back for week 15 in a tough matchup against the Eagles at home. Josh Allen comes to Chicago week 16. Week 17, the Motor City against Detroit. And the Chicago Bears host the Minnesota Vikings, and week 18 to finish the season. A lot of superstars, a lot of intriguing matchups, but a schedule that right now, if we're being radio dorks, Marvelous one, probably like 6-7 wins at the max. That's kind of a safe bet. But besides the matchups, besides all that, what did you think about the schedule? Is there anything that intrigues you as a football fan, something maybe you would like to go to in a theoretical world if travel was easy and money was just growing on trees? Is there anything when the schedule release happened that excited you?
A couple of observations. I mean, they started home and they ended home. This is the year where they play the NFC East and the AFC East. That extra game, that 17th game, happens to be Houston. That's just a random game, apparently. And San Francisco, Atlanta are the sort of wild card games. So in summarizing the schedule, that's the teams they play. Now, of course, they get to play in the Meadowlands twice, which I thought was quite interesting. They play at the Giants and at the Jets. And this is a key year with the new coach, with Fields, some kind of an offensive line, which hasn't been improved much. So in terms of the team itself, we'll see what they can do. The schedule, I mean, it isn't as they don't have to play a lot of the elite teams because they weren't, because they didn't get the first place schedule or what, the second place schedule even. But they do have to play, like I said, the entire AFC and NFC East, which can be challenging. But they do miss. It seems like they play the Rams every year, and they're not playing them. so that that's one advantage, not playing the champ. So that's a good thing. But you mentioned, they don't have to go to Green Bay, but they do play Green Bay on December 4th at Soldier Field, so it might be the same situation. And how the schedule goes to the extra game now, they go well into January. They play Minnesota at home on January 8th, and now with the Super Bowl around Valentine's Day, it's a little bit longer season. So hopefully they will do better than we hope. I mean, if somehow they went 8-9, they'd be super. You're thinking maybe 6-11. I mean, if they were able to go 9-8, that would be tremendous, but I don't see it. And I'm ticking them off. I mean, it all depends on some of the divisional games. I think for me, the wild card of the Detroit and Minnesota games, how they can do in the division against Green Bay. If they can somehow split, that would be wonderful. But they have to do better against Minnesota and Detroit, in my opinion, to be successful. So we'll just see how it goes. I mean, there's a lot of time left, but they play Kansas City in the preseason on August 13th, and that's just 3 months off now. So that's it's not as far away as we might think.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. I think if you segmented some of these games, you can convince yourself on both wins and losses. The 49ers matchup is a really interesting one. It's Justin Fields versus Trey Lance, so that's a fun game. Green Bay probably going to win the division running away, but again, you catch them early. If you're ever going to beat Green Bay at Green Bay, that's the game. The Texans are a bad team. The Giants are a bad team. Who knows what's going to happen with Minnesota? They have crazy weapons. The Commanders are a bad team because it's still Washington and a team that's owned by Dan Snyder. New England on Monday Night Football in New England, you think Bill Belichick is going to have some surprises for Justin Fields. Also, going back a little bit, that Commanders game on Thursday Night Football, having that game on Monday Night Football the week earlier, and of course, to start the season off in week 2 in Green Bay at Sunday Night Football. Smart of the schedule makers to get the Bears and the Chicago market early when the record might be okay and they're not trying to go for draft position. So shout out them to that. A tough matchup is that Dallas game in week 8, because if Dallas is going to be good, they're going to be rolling by then. If Tua's not good, if he's not good, you could beat the Dolphins, especially them coming to Chicago. You've mentioned it. The Lions are the wild card. They got a lot of high draft picks. We don't know everything we know about them. It's their history. So that's why we give them a hard time. But for all we know, the tides have turned. I think the Jets are a bad team. But that hell schedule that comes out of Packers, bye week, Eagles, Bills, I mean, that's going to be murder's row for this Bears team. But I do think that they're going to be fun matchups. I do think that they're going to be interesting matchups. And if you're going to some of these games, you get to see superstars. And you just have to be entertaining. We don't know what this team's going to look like. We don't even know what the starting offensive line is. But what I do know is that the stars that are playing for the other team, if they're healthy, coming to Chicago or the Bears matching up, we get to see what the ladder is. We get to see where the benchmark is and what it takes to get to that level and what this regime is capable of doing moving forward. But Marvelous One, any final thoughts on the schedule? I think the last thing for me was it was kind of lame how they did it. You see somehow all of these teams announce it on social media. Come on, Bears, you're the 3rd largest market. Step it up. I know you like to pretend your mom and pop shop, but let's go. Marvelous One, any final thoughts on the schedule release?
I was waiting for the bye week 14. I mean, that's really, kind of late and that they could get worn down by, playing every week up till then. And they do have a good little break. I don't know how they managed to pick the Washington game for the Thursday night game, but that gave them a little bit of a break because they go, they go 11 days because they play New England next on the road, so that's kind of a break. But otherwise, they're pretty much playing every week. I noticed they have no Sunday night game scheduled in the last half of the season and to be flexed out of.
Exactly. Don't even waste your time, NBC.
I know. So I thought that was an interesting observation. And up till now, they don't flex Thursday or Monday, to my knowledge. So and they also don't have any of those in the last half of the season. The last, obviously that New England game on October 24th is the last scheduled national game that isn't then Fox or CBS. So and then you guys will have to figure out how to watch that Washington game on Prime Video. I was today. For example, I figured out a way to watch the San Diego Atlanta baseball game on Peacock. So it isn't easy, finding these streaming deals. And, I watched the Cubs in Arizona, for example, on Friday night on Apple TV. So you're going to have to start being creative to watch some of these games now that the streaming services are in vogue.
We'll take care of you, Marvelous One, to make sure that you watch these train wreck that is the Chicago Bears campaign. Look at Bears fans. If nothing else, Justin Fields gets to take on Trey Lance, gets to take on Aaron Rodgers. You get to take on, Justin Fields is against a team like, I don't know, Josh Allen, who you're hoping he ends up being. Just enjoy some football. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the come up, because guess what? Everybody is still 0-0. Let us know your thoughts. What did you think about the NFL schedule release? We're on Twitter at Sports Cubicle TV. It's the Marvelous One, Dan Marver. It's Devin Tingle. It's Paul Chivari. I'm Mike Mercado.